Hello there YouTube, it's Gojira Prime with another Transformers video, and today I want to just very quickly go over the Transformers Seige series which aired over the weekend on Netflix, just to give my very quick initial thoughts on the show, a few things about it that I like, that I don't like, and also just to go over the supposedly leaked poster for the Transformers Kingdom series, or part 3 of the War for Cybertron trilogy. So, Seige aired over the weekend. I've had a chance to watch all 6 episodes of the show, had time to digest them, take them in, and see a few comments on Facebook and Twitter and a couple of other places in regard to what the general public think of it. My opinion is that it's okay. It's not fantastic, it's not bad, but it is okay. I enjoyed the setting for the show, the end of days for Cybertron, the end of the war on Cybertron for the Autobots and Decepticons. That's a setting I particularly like. I'm a big fan of the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron games, so the setting really appealed to me in that sense. I quite like the animation, didn't have any big complaints there. They did reuse a lot of character models, especially Cog and the Reflector and Sideswipe, in order to make up what seemed to be the general population of the planet. But they also did that with the Seekers as well, but they've been doing that for years. So that wasn't really a major issue for me because they're robots at the end of the day. I imagine they have like a set template or whatever it may be. So the animation was fine, the setting was fine. I did like the story myself. I did enjoy that. I thought it was quite a different take on the story of the Allspark and the relationship between Optimus and Megatron and Bumblebee and Elita 1 and Ultra Magnus. So I thought they did a nice job at making it different enough to make it interesting at the end of the day. My one big complaint, and this is a complaint that a lot of other people seem to have, is the voice acting. The voice acting is nothing particularly special. Everyone seems to be fairly monotone in it. I don't know if that's how they recorded it or not. But the biggest issue is, at least for me, is the voices of Prime and Megatron. The voice actors who are doing them are doing their very best to do impressions of Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. And this has been a complaint, I think, with a lot of people. Even more so since a YouTube video started doing the rounds of Frank Welker and Peter Cullen pre-lockdown at a Comic-Con event, where a fan asked them what they thought of other voice actors doing these roles, and they, in all honesty, weren't that pleased about it. Now, they didn't have a go per se at the voice actors themselves, but they did have, and it's pretty obvious in the video, that they do have an issue with Netflix and how they've gone about hiring actors. And they basically are not fans of it. And Gary Chalk as well, I think on Twitter, has made a few comments about this as well, that he's not really impressed with the voice acting. I don't know the reasons why Netflix did what they did in regard to hiring voice actors, but I think, at the end of the day, it probably came down to money, and that Netflix wanted to get as cheap a deal as they possibly could. And so they've hired voice actors to play Frank Welker and Peter Cullen impersonating Optimus Prime and doing Optimus Prime and Megatron. And if I'm honest, it does seem to be something of a common theme now with Transformers series, where the voice actors are told, give us your best version of Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime or Frank Welker as Optimus Prime. I think we've seen that pretty much with the last 2 or 3 versions of Transformers, and I think it is a failing, really, that the voice actors aren't being given a chance to make these characters their own. Certainly when Gary Chalk and David Kane voiced Optimus in the Unicron trilogy and animated, they didn't try to impersonate Frank Welker or Peter Cullen, because obviously David Kane has played Megatron a great deal as well, or at least different versions of Megatron. They tried to make these characters their own, and with great success, I think. So I do think going forward, if the voice actors are going to be, if different voice actors are going to be playing Prime and Megatron, they do need to stop trying to copy Frank Welker and Peter Cullen and actually make them their own. And I think that will impress the fans a lot more than trying to impersonate the original actors of the shows. Obviously, I'm a big G1 fan, so if there's any chance of Peter Cullen and Frank Welker coming back to voice these characters, I'm all for it. But I don't think Netflix are for it, and I think ultimately it comes down to a money issue more than anything. And I think even if fans do make their voice heard, I don't think Netflix will listen, and they will continue to do their own thing. But we can only make our complaints known at the end of the day, and if they do change the course they're going on, then great. If they don't, then we'll just have to see where they do go. Now, the second part of the War for Cybertron trilogy, Earthrise, we don't yet have a release date for that, obviously, but the toys have already started to hit shelves now for quite some time. I've already got the Earthrise Optimus Prime and Cliffjumper, and I think that's the only thing from Earthrise I've got at the moment. I do have Megatron on pre-order. Bumblebee will be going on pre-order as soon as it's up for pre-order. Megatron's on pre-order. There aren't a lot of other toys from the Earthrise line I want to get. I'm not getting the Seekers because I already have the classic Seekers and the Universe Seekers from way back when, and I'm more than happy with those. So I won't be adding them to my collection, but I think I'll be getting RC as well. Probably Astro Train, because I do like the Decepticon triple changes. But aside from that, I don't think I'll be getting a lot of toys and figures from the Earthrise line. I do obviously have Scorponok on pre-order as well, and I'll probably end up getting Skylinks as well, as I passed on him during the Combiner Wars line because I wasn't a fan of the whole Combiner theme for him. But I'll hunt him down nearer the time, I think, when he comes out on general release. Now, the thing that I'm actually most interested about now for the War for Cybertron line isn't Earthrise, but is actually Transformers Kingdom. Now, what we've got here is the supposedly leaked poster for the series that appeared a little while ago. Now, I've been trying to find a clearer image of this thing, but I've not been able to find one to date. All the images are a little bit fuzzy and a little bit out of focus, but you can make out certain characters from the previous Beast Wars line. Now, I have to admit, as a kid growing up in the 90s, I missed Beast Wars. I didn't watch it until probably 2008, 2009, when I first started to get back into Transformers quite heavily. I was able to track it down on YouTube, and I was able to watch the whole series, 1 to 3, and then I've seen Beast Machines as well. And I really enjoyed Beast Wars. I thought it was a really good series. It was a lot more grown up than G1 was to a certain degree, but G1 is still my favorite. Beast Wars is probably my third favorite version of Transformers after the aligned continuity, the Prime series. So I'm familiar with Beast Wars to a degree, but I'm not as heavily into it as G1 at this time in my life. But just to go around the poster, it's quite an interesting poster. It's quite a nice poster. Just to run through the characters that do appear. I don't think this is all of the characters, obviously, that are going to appear in the show. I think we're going to get a lot more Beast Wars characters. But just to run through what we've got here on the poster. At the top here, we've got Beast Wars and G1 Megatron. Now, after watching Siege and then looking at this poster again, I was quite curious as to why we've got the two Megatrons sort of cut in half. Now, this could be my imagination running wild, and I may be reading into this far more than I actually need to. But, and this is a slight spoiler, but it's not a very big spoiler. In Siege, we get introduced to the character of Sound Blaster, and he is a clone of Soundwave, and he's actually said to be one of Shockwave's failed experiments. So I'm just wondering, from looking at this image here of the two Megatron's heads side by side, is Beast Wars Megatron a clone of G1 Megatron? So are we going to end up with two Megatrons who both think that they're the real Megatron and vying for control of not only the Predacons but also of the Decepticons as well? That might be an interesting take on the character going forward, and it's something I would be interested in seeing. I don't know if we'll get that. They could be two completely different characters at the end of the day, but it would be interesting to see where they'd be going with that. The next character we have here is Black Arachnia. Now, Black Arachnia is quite a popular character, not just in Beast Wars, but in Transformers in general. And she, from what I remember in the Beast Wars show, she was a kind of femme fatale. She did start off as a Predacon and then ultimately joined the Maximals at some point in Season 1 or Season 2. I can't remember exactly when. Outside of Beast Wars, she's had a few toy releases in the Generations/Legends line, but her biggest role outside of Beast Wars was in the animated franchise, where Black Arachnia originally started off as Elita 1. But following a failed mission, she became a trans-organic hybrid and was shunned by the Autobots and ended up working for the Decepticons. So I'm actually curious to see, is this version of Black Arachnia going to in fact be an evolved form of Elita 1 from Siege? I think that would be a really interesting take on the character, and it would also add a new, it would add a new twist to her tale in regard to Megatron and Optimus and her relationship with those two characters. So I think that would be something that's quite interesting to see. The next character we have is this guy here, and that is Beast Wars Scorponok. Now, as far as I remember, Scorponok was not the smartest of individuals in the Predacon army. He was mostly used as hired muscle, and he was only in Season 1 of the show. He met his demise in the opening scenes of Season 2, and that was it. He was gone after that. He was never brought back in any way, shape, or form. So, as his name suggests, he does turn into a scorpion. So I'm curious to see what role he will play in the show, but my guess is he'll probably end up being the hired muscle guy again. Now, the next character we have that I can clearly make out is this guy here, and this is Dinobot. Now, Dinobot is a fan favorite again. He's had some toys outside of the Beast Wars line in the Generations and Universe line. But aside from his role in Beast Wars, I don't know if he's appeared in any fiction, mainstream fiction at least, since that show ended. Again, he started off as a Predacon, but joined the Maximals by the end of the opening episodes of Season 1. He did constantly seem to clash with Optimus Primal, and seemed to have a fairly rough relationship with Rat Trap as well, to a certain degree, although I think that there was mutual respect between the two towards the end of Dinobot's life. The character was actually killed off in season 2, where he was killed by the Predacons while protecting and saving the ancient ancestors of the human race. In that universe. So he had quite a high-profile end to his existence. He was actually brought back in season 3 as a transmetal clone. And actually, if I remember correctly, he ended up betraying Megatron at the very end and siding with the Maximals again, and played a key role in Megatron's defeat in the show. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Dinobot. Is he going to start off as a Predacon, or is he going to be a Maximal, or does he join the Maximals at some point in the show? It's certainly going to be interesting to see. The next character we have here is this Eagle character. Now that is, I believe, the character of Air Razor. She was she was the only female Maximal, aside from Black Arachnia, in the show. Aside from that, I don't really know a lot about the character, but if I remember correctly, she was in some kind of a relationship with this character here, who is Tigatron. Again, I don't remember a lot about Tigatron, except that he's an albino tiger. Now, these two characters, I've done a bit of reading very quickly, and I know that they both were killed off in the Beast Wars series, and they were actually merged together to form a new character called Tiger Hawk. Whether or not we'll see that fate befall them in this series, who knows? Who knows? We don't know anything at this particular moment in time. Then obviously again we have Bumblebee here, Optimus Prime, and then this character who everyone, I imagine, is probably excited to see in a TV show again is Optimus Primal. Now obviously Primal is probably the most popular character from the Beast Wars franchise. He's had toys in the Universe line, the Cybertron line, the Generations line, the Legends line. He had a leader class toy in the Power of the Primes line, so he's the most famous and most popular of the characters, I think, from the Beast Wars franchise. So obviously we're going to be getting him again, and I imagine we'll be getting a new toy of him as well. We then have Cheetor. I think that's this character here. Cheetor was the kid-like character, I seem to recall, from Beast Wars. He was a bit of a prankster, a bit of a joker, didn't really take anything very seriously. You could say he was kind of the Beast Wars incarnation of Hot Rod, to a certain degree. But as the series progressed, he matured, he became a warrior, and I think even at one point he even commanded the Maximals when Primal was out of the picture for a little while. Again, I think he's a firm fan favorite, and I think he's had almost as many toys released as Optimus Primal, so he's certainly a very popular character with the fans. And then the last one, the only remaining one which I can make out the clearest, is this little thing here, which is the character of Rat Trap. And Rat Trap was kind of the scout for the Maximals. He was also the biggest whinger and whiner of the group, to say the least. Hated going into combat, hated Predacons, and had an antagonistic relationship with Dinobot, to say the least. He's also had one or two toys released over the years. I do know he's had a Universe toy fairly recently, which was a deluxe class size toy, but he's not had much prominence outside of the Beast Wars franchise himself. So this will be his first mainstream appearance in many, many, many years. Aside from that, there's not really a lot you can tell from this poster. We obviously have the arc in the middle here with the golden disc, the Voyager disc, from the show. As to what role that will play in the new series, don't know at this point. If you're familiar with Beast Wars and you know what role the golden disc played, it might be playing exactly the same role as last time. And obviously then we also have the Nemesis in this corner as well. And that's about as much as I can make out from this image, if I'm honest. I can't really make anything else out from it. So Yeah, but it's interesting to see. It gives us, if it is legitimate, if this is the real teaser poster, it gives us a good insight into some of the toys we will be getting. And I do, if I remember correctly, I think there are a couple of potential lists of what we might be getting floating around somewhere on the internet. I've had a look at them, and I'll take them all with a very large grain of salt. But hopefully every single character we see here on this poster will be getting a toy at some point. I'm looking forward to getting Beast Wars toys. It will be a breath of fresh air, I think, for the franchise going forward. And who knows what we might get in the future. I'll be curious to see what the Commander and Titan class figures will be. I've seen a few speculations here and there, but there's been nothing confirmed from Hasbro or Takara as to what we will be getting in the near future. So that's my thoughts on Siege, on Earthrise, and on Kingdom and the poster we've had for it so far. I hope you liked the video. If you have watched to the very end, thank you very, very much. Have a very good night, and I'll see you soon.